I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the March meeting of the Municipal Council for the Corporation of the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal. And I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening. I see we have some representatives of the ATV Club. Welcome, gentlemen. The other words of welcome, of course, after 36 days in the sunshine, I'd like to welcome back CAO McKinstry. I don't even want to think about the 36 days in the sunshine, but we're glad to have you back. And also at the same time, I want to extend our most sincere thanks to Dave Grant, the Director of Operations, who so ably filled in your position while you were away. And Dave, thank you very much for your help during that period of time. Now, the other words of welcome tonight, of course, go to our new CBO, Kevin Lalonde, who's sitting at the table beside the Director of Operations, and I'm going to ask Deborah if she would proceed further with introducing the CBO to the other members of council that haven't already met him, or passing on the invitation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do want to just add my word of thanks to yourself and Councillor Cameron, as well as Mr. Grant and Ms. Stubbs for taking on the task of filling that position in my absence. They've done a very good recruiting process, and I'm very happy to come back to CBO more or less in place, which was great. So it was very nice for me to meet Kevin this morning, and I'm delighted to welcome him aboard as well. Mr. Grant may have a few words of introduction with respect to Kevin's background that you'd like to share?
Certainly. So Kevin comes from us previously with South Glengarry and the City of Cornwall. I guess through our reference checks, I guess the three areas that I would say that are resounding is Kevin's knowledge, his details, and I think those are probably the two items that came shining through. So we're glad to have him aboard.
And if I can just remember something from the interview, just in furthering to what you're saying, it seems to me that Kevin has the credential, sufficient credentials, that the amount of, or the number of projects that we will have to refer to the previous, we used the firm in Ottawa, that will no longer be required. Kevin has the credential to handle most of those more complicated kinds of building permit applications right in-house and here. So once again, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Okay, so now moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is approval of the agenda. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Steve Dillabaugh, that Municipal Council approves the agenda as presented.
Okay, members, you've heard the motion. Discussion, if any. If not, those in favor, please signify.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. And now I'm turning to item number 3 on the agenda, disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. And Councillor Hunter.
I have a territorial interest in agenda item 8. Item N, gravel tender award. The Stackleberry Construction is the operator of my quarry and has tendered this bid.
Okay, so the minutes will note one disclosure of interest. Any other disclosure of interest?
No.
And Councillor Hunter informs me that he has filed his declaration with the clerk. Okay, I'm moving to item 4, delegations and presentations. We have none this evening. And I'm moving to item 5, the minutes of the previous council meeting, which was February the 25th. We'll deal with the minutes first, and then business arising from the minutes at the next item agenda. So, Councillor Hunter.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Cameron, that Municipal Council receives and approves the minutes of the regular council meeting dated February 25th, 2019.
Thank you very much. Motion's on the floor. Discussion, if any. Errors or omissions? Hearing none, vote to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. And now at item 6 on the agenda, is there any business arising from those minutes? Questions? Hearing none, about to move on to item number 7 on the agenda. Item number 7 is the approval of various committee meetings held during the month. The first is the Public Library Board meeting. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you very much. It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh, that Municipal Council receives the minutes of the Public Library Board meeting dated January 22nd, 2019.
Thank you very much. The motion is on the floor. Now, are there any questions with those minutes, business arising from them? Anything at all? Hearing none, I'm about to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. And moving to 7B, the Port Management Committee meeting. Councillor Dillabaugh.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Cameron, that the Municipality Council receives the minutes of the Port Management Committee meeting dated February 20th, 2019.
Questions arising? Discussion if any? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify.
Aye.
Motion is carried. And just for the benefit of the folks in the gallery, these minutes are seldom get much discussion because at our committee meetings that we hold during the month, the items are dealt with in a pretty exhaustive fashion so that this just becomes the formal approval of those minutes. Once in a while, questions arise, but seldom. So 7C is the Community Development Committee meeting. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Steve Dillabaugh, that the Municipal Council receives and approves the minutes of the Community Development Committee meeting dated March 4th, 2019.
Questions if any? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify. Motion is carried. And 7D, the budget meeting number 5, Councillor Hunter.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Cameron, that the Municipal Council receives and approves the minutes of budget meeting number 5 dated March 7th, 2019.
Discussion if any? Hearing none, those in favor? Motion is carried. And budget meeting number 6 is coming up on Thursday evening, 6:30. And we have the agenda package for that meeting on our tables this evening in front of us. So 7E, the Committee of the Whole meeting, Councillor Dillabaugh.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Cameron, that the Municipality Council receives and approves the minutes of the Committee of the Whole Administration and Finance meeting dated March 11th, 2019.
Questions if any? Discussion? If not, those in favor, please signify. Motion is carried. And Committee of the Whole Public Works, Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you very much. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh, that Municipal Council receives and approves the minutes of the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities meeting dated March 18th, 2019.
Questions, discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify. Motion is carried. And now I'm at item 8 on the agenda. And item 8 is the approval of various action and information items that are coming forward from those committee meetings. So item 8A, a severance application. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Steve Dillabaugh, the Municipal Council recommends in favor of severance application B-7-19 Grunke, conditional upon: 1, the agricultural lot to be severed must be sold to be used for agricultural purposes, and 2, the agricultural lot to be severed must be rezoned to prohibit residential use of the property and recognize the 15.5 acre deficiency, as recommended by the Community Development Committee.
Thank you very much. Discussion if any? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. And 8B, the extension for a draft plan approval. Extension for the draft plan approval of a subdivision.
Correct.
Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you very much. It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh, that municipal council recommends in favor of a 3-year extension on the draft plan approval of subdivision for Edwardsburg Developments, Inc., as recommended by the Community Development Committee.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
First, I have a few comments and concerns about granting an extension to the Charlevoix subdivision. 8 years. It's been 8 years and zero development. The argument that was presented to us for extension says that there was no market in Cardinal right now, and I would argue that there is a market in Cardinal right now. There are only 3 houses for sale, less than $250,000 on Realtor.ca. Furthermore, there have been no changes to the current subdivision plans to reflect the current market in Cardinal. Looking at Brockville and Kempville as possible examples, they are building mixed neighborhoods, not single-family homes, building such things as townhomes, semi-detached homes that might be more suited to their markets. Our Cardinal ratepayers are having a 3% water and a 3% sewer increase on their bills this year. I struggle with the concept that we will continue to allow extensions, especially 3-year extensions, that require us as a township to hold and guarantee services when no attempts have been made to adapt to a market or even begin building. While I do respect the money that's been invested to secure this subdivision, I think 8 years is enough. I also believe that if an extension is given, it should come with a fee for holding the services that the township provides with respect to water and sewer. I believe the fees should reflect and be equal to the increase that the ratepayers of Cardinal have seen. So if an extension would be granted, it would come at a cost the same at the end increase is for those ratepayers. So in the end, I recommend that an extension of 1 year at a cost equivalent to 3% increase that the ratepayers of Cardinal are getting on their water and sewer this year. This extension, if granted, would be subject to review each year until development begins. And if there isn't an agreement on the fee holding the services of water and sewer, then I believe an extension should not be granted. Thank you.
Response, if any? Well, now, first of all, declare your position on the motion. What's your position on the motion? For or against?
Would be against.
Okay. So, speakers on the other side of the coin? Hearing any?
I like that. I like that, Deputy Mayor. However, in the past, we have issued extensions, not necessarily on subdivisions, but on other properties. I'm sorry, I would support the recommendation.
Okay, well, just hang on a second, because what we have here is a recommendation which the chair declares to be in, not to be in congruence with the motion that we have in front of us, which means that the chair can deal with it in one of 2 ways. Number 1, I can call the question on the existing motion, and if the existing motion fails, I can entertain a second motion. That's one way. The other way I can deal with this is if a mover and a seconder want to put forward an amendment which would change the words in favor of a 3-year extension to the words in favor of a 1-year extension. Now, clearly that amendment would be in contravention of the motion. So I'm just outlining as the chair the way to deal with what I'm hearing. I don't have at this minute, I don't have an amendment on the floor, so I am going to take this opportunity to speak to the motion before I go any further here. While I do recognize all of the points that the Deputy Mayor has made, and I do have some empathy for them, I'm going to support the motion in its present form, and I'll tell you why I'm going to support it in its present form. This subdivision represents the potential development of how many lots? If I could get a refresher from the staff.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I believe it was 92 to 95, somewhere in that range.
Okay, so I'm writing down 92 to 95, and then with the help of the staff, can you just refresh my memory as to the number of units we would be able to place on the existing Meadowlands subdivision that has also a full site plan agreement in place, or a subdivision agreement in place? How many at Meadowlands?
Well, don't hold me to this, but I believe it's right around 200, but I could be wrong.
It's right around 200?
I believe so.
Okay, now, I'll tell you why I've asked for those numbers. As you all know, I am really working hard to get a meeting in Toronto concerning the Ontario Job Site Challenge, where I will put forward the case for the 2,000 acres that we've identified as being what I consider to be the ideal location for the future site of an auto assembly plant. Now, although I haven't addressed this specific item in the brief that I've presented, I think it will increase our argument if I'm able to say at that meeting that I have, or that we have, subdivisions agreements in place for the immediate construction of about 300 homes. I think that that's another strong argument in our quiver of arrows for the site that we're putting forward. So while I recognize all of the arguments that the Deputy Mayor has put forward, I think this is a strong argument to give this subdivision one more extension until we see where things are going with this Ontario Job Site Challenge. So with that, I'll stop, and if there is, the chair is looking for direction. What do you want me to do here? Do you want me to call the motion and see whether it passes, or do you want me to entertain an amendment to the motion, which basically would be in conflict to the motion? So I would have to declare it to be in conflict, and then we'd have to vote on the amendment, and if the amendment passes, change the motion.
Can I make a suggestion?
Go ahead.
So, my suggestion would be that we amend the motion to scrap the 3-year extension part and make it a 1-year extension as recommended by the United Counties.
Okay, so are you putting that forward as a motion?
So
as an amendment?
I would put a motion, yes, to amend the as it stands with a 1-year extension.
Okay, now, in favor of 1-year extension. Okay, all right, so I have a mover, which is Deputy Mayor Deschamps, and he's seeking a seconder to put that amendment to the motion. So, does he have a seconder? If he has a seconder, I have to call the question on that amendment first. Okay, so Deputy Mayor, you don't find a seconder,
I die of death.
you die of death. Okay, so,
Not unexpected.
but good points. All right, so I'm gonna call the question on the motion as it's on the table. Recommends in favor of a 3-year extension of the draft plan approval of subdivision for Edwardsburg Developments, Inc., as recommended by the Community Development Committee. Those in favor of the motion?
Recorded vote.
Yes, recorded vote requested by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, and I'll call the question then, and we'll hear the votes. Councillor Cameron, how do you vote?
Yay.
Councillor Dillabaugh, how do you vote?
Yay.
Councillor Hunter, how do you vote?
Yay.
Deputy Mayor Deschamps?
Nay.
And the mayor will vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries 4-1. Thank you very much. Good points raised by all. All right, and so now I'm proceeding to 8C, the transfer funds to the fire department for the fire rescue vehicle. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you very much. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Hunter that the municipal council budget to transfer $70,000 to the fire department vehicle reserve in 2019 towards the purchase of a rescue unit in 2020, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Administration and Finance.
Thank you very much. The motion's on the table. Discussion, if any. Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And 8D, Public Works Truck 1 transfer direction. Councillor Hunter.
Move myself, second by Councillor Cameron, that municipal council direct staff to transfer $14,000 that we dedicated and placed into reserves for the purchase of a new pickup truck to the purchase of a new snow plow as previously directed in pre-budget approval as recommended by Committee of the Whole, Admin and Finance.
Discussion, if any. Hearing none, those in favor, please signify.
Aye.
Motion is carried. And I'm at item 8E, excavator option. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Steve Dillabaugh, that Municipal Council, 1, exercise the option to purchase the 2012 Volvo excavator, and 2, use reserves to cover final buyout cost of $99,000, and 3, continue to operate the excavator unit within the township fleet as recommended by Committee of the Whole, Admin and Finance.
Discussion, if any. Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And item 8F, a severance appeal. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hugh Cameron, that Municipal Council remove the following condition on severances: B-126-18 and B-127-18 Bassett. Completion of an engineering study demonstrating the feasibility of continued on-site servicing for both parcels, end quote, as recommended by Committee of the Whole, Admin and Finance.
Discussion, if any. Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. And item 8G, Fort Town Night Run. Councillor Hunter.
Move myself, second by Councillor Cameron, that the municipal council supports and approves the request for partial road closure on Windmill Road for the Fort Town Night Run event on May 4th, 2014, and that notification be provided to affected residents as recommended by Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services and Facilities.
And I think it's May 4th, 2019. Discussion, if any. Those in favor, please signify. Motion is carried.
Can't wait to see you around.
Well, just a minute. Yeah, let's not go too far with the motion.
Charles and I are gonna go.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Good, good.
Okay, so 8H, Rural and Northern Infrastructure Fund Project. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
All right, this is a long one. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Cameron. Whereas the Province of Ontario announced on March 12th, 2019, the intake applications for Road and Bridges project under the Rural and Northern Fund. Whereas the Rural and Northern Fund is one of our 4 funding streams within the Canada-Ontario Infrastructure Bilateral Agreement. And whereas the bilateral agreement proposes that selected projects will receive 50% funding from the federal government, 33% from the provincial government, and the remaining 17% from the municipal government. And whereas the intake of applications opened on March 18th, 2019, with an 8-week one-time window closing on May 14th, 2019, and whereas the construction of the approved and funded projects must be completed by October 31st, 2026, and whereas the Rural and Northern Fund program requirements stipulate that the project must be limited to a single continuous work site. Now therefore be it resolved that the council of the corporation of the township of Edwardsburg Cardinal hereby direct staff to prepare an application for the complete rebuild to a full urban standard, the heavily used provincial highway 401 de facto alternative detour route of Rooney Road from County Road 22 to County Road 44, with the continuation along Cedar Grove Road from County Road 44 to the township boundary with the township of Augusta. And further that, the project continues along Cedar Grove Road in partnership with the township of Augusta to the westward limit of County Road 18. And further that, the council of the corporation of the township of Edwardsburg Cardinal authorize staff to engage with the township civil engineering firm of record to immediately prepare a Class D estimate of the road reconstruction costs and estimated construction timeframe. And further that, the completed application be brought to council for final review and approval no later than the Committee of the Whole Admin and Finance meeting of May 13th, 2019, to be approved during a special council meeting on the same evening. And I will not repeat that.
Okay,
That's a mouthful.
discussion if any.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if I could lead off, I'm just at the final paragraph where it refers to Cedar Grove Road. I don't think our intention here is to make Cedar Grove Road an EDR affiliate because of the problems that we've had with the overloading of that area, that road in the past. I'm just bringing this to the attention of council that we are referring to the EDR. However, the EDR would only be in effect for Rooney Road if there was a blockage between say Shanley Road and the 416 overpass. They could come along Rooney Road from Shanley going west, but I know we don't want the heavy traffic on 44. So is 44 in this only under the pretense of being repaired and brought up to par?
Okay, so a couple of things here. Let's not get hung up on the fact that we describe Rooney Road from County Road 22 to County Road 44 as a de facto alternative detour route. That's just an adjective phrase referring to Rooney Road for that section. And we all know that if Highway 401 westbound gets closed between Cardinal and Johnstown, that a certain amount of the truck traffic will divert onto Rooney Road and come up to County Road 44. That happens.
Correct.
So let's not get hung up on the fact that we call it a de facto alternative route, because that is put in there just for the sake of how do I say, enhancing the application that we will make. Now, I don't think there's any implication that we will allow or ask the county to post it as an EDR, an alternate detour road, even after it's rebuilt. So I don't think we should get hung up on a couple of, an adjective phrase within that operative clause, which really is descriptive, it's not prescriptive.
Okay, yes, I understand that, but I'm talking about along Cedar Grove Road.
Yeah, but that descriptive doesn't refer to Cedar Grove Road.
Okay, I'll accept that.
Councillor Hunter.
I just think when we're looking at it too, as Councillor Cameron mentioned, the overloading on Cedar Grove Road, if the road's completely rebuilt up to urban standards, we're not gonna have that trouble with that's the point of it, too, of building the roads up, because regardless of how we label them or not, or even put signs up, when there's 401 blocked, we get traffic on both these roads regardless, because number 2 gets jammed up, and now with, we never used to have that trouble, but now when they got Google Maps on there, the trucker hits it, and Wave tells them number 2's 5 kilometers an hour, Cedar Grove Road is 25 kilometers an hour, they automatically divert to the road, so, and there's really not much way of stopping them, so.
Just a comment, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so just before we do that, I think there's one other factor you should be aware of here, because there are a number of things that we don't know yet about the application for the Rural and Northern Fund. And one of the things that has not been clarified, it has been clarified by our Director of Operations that the project has to be a continuous worksite, a single continuous worksite. The Director clarified that for us at the meeting. What hasn't been clarified is whether or not those folks that are administering the program will regard the jump across 44 onto Cedar Grove as part of a continuous worksite. So let's not get too hung up on the Cedar Grove Road portion, because for sure the main emphasis here is on Rooney Road. And let's let the staff do their job here. I mean, this provides direction to staff, but I think the first thing that the staff will do is clarify whether they can make that jump across 44 onto Cedar Grove. If they can't, the whole discussion is out the window, except for the Rooney Road portion. You know, so that's why I don't want to get too hung up here. We're providing direction to staff, but any direction that we provide to staff is going to be overridden by the requirements of the program. So let's let the staff do their job too. Did you want to go ahead?
No, you've somewhat answered my question. That'll work.
Okay, so with those comments, then I'm going to call the question on the motion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And just a quick word to staff, and I know it's maybe a little bit soon to ask the CAO, but do you have a confidence level that we'll be able to meet the May 13th admin finance deadline?
100%.
There you go.
So that's not really-
It's in, but it's on tape now. Okay, so I'm moving on now to 8I, the Cardinal Water Treatment Plant Summary Report. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Hunter that Municipal Council receives the Cardinal Water Treatment Plant Summary Report.
Thank you very much. Discussion of any? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify. Motion is carried. Here. And now the wastewater treatment plant, Councillor Dillabaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, second by Councilor Cameron, that the Municipality Council receives the Cardinal Wastewater Treatment Annual Report.
Thank you very much. Chair has the motion. Discussion of any? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And then the last one, I think, no, two more. 8K, Industrial Park Report, Councillor Hunter.
Moved myself, second by Councillor Dillabaugh, that Municipal Council receives the Industrial Park Summary Report.
Summary report for 2018. I'm adding those two words. Discussion of any? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. I just want to go back to these other two. They're basically passed. There's no dates on them. Wish I would have noticed that. How do I deal with this? Looking for direction from the clerk here.
Yeah, we can just add that in the minutes, Mr. Mayor.
Can you?
Yeah.
Okay. I've added it on this motion. And,
Should it be on this one then?
yes, it should, just
So
if you
for
wouldn't
one
mind,
report,
for 2018. Okay, Deputy Mayor Deschamps?
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hugh Cameron, that municipal council receives the Prescott Drinking Water System Annual Report for 2018.
Thank you very much. Those in favor? Motion is carried. And so now I'm on the dust suppressant tender award, Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you very much. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hunter, that municipal council provide approval and award the supply of dust suppression tender to Dali Dust Control Limited at a unit rate of 0.2495 cents per liter to the maximum amount $47,000, including non-rebated HST as recommended by Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities.
Thank you very much. Those in favor? Motion is carried. Chair notes that Councillor Hunter has backed from the table, and we'll deal with item 8N, the gravel tender award. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Cameron, that municipal council provide approval and award the supply of crushed rock tender to G. Tackaberry and Sons Construction Company Limited at the unit price of $11.98 per metric ton to a maximum of $87,000, including non-rebated HST as recommended by the Committee of Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities.
Discussion, if any? Hearing none, those in favor? Motion is carried. Councillor Hunter returns to the table. Item 8O, the Johnstown ATV Club. Councillor Hunter.
Moved myself, second by Councillor Dilbaugh. Municipal Council, 1, approve the request for permission for the Johnstown ATV Club applicant to make improvements to lawn maintain road allowance between lots 12 and 13, concession 5, and direct staff to prepare an agreement with the applicant stipulating the conditions of use, as recommended by Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify.
Aye.
Motion is carried, and just from the chair,
Run for the door.
I understand from the CEO that Director of Operations has this in hand, is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. And number 8P, comprehensive project proposal spending at the, from the port. Councillor Dilbaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Cameron, that the municipality council approves the upper limit of $150,000 to allot to secure the professional service required to help with the comprehensive project proposed submission under the National Trade Corridor Fund, and approves the spending only if the Port of Johnstown is successful in the expression of interest submitted on March 1st, 2019, as recommended by the Port Management Committee.
I'm going to wait and see how this motion fares. Discussion, if any?
Done here.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Well, now that the motion's carried, I can report to council that early this afternoon, I guess around 2 to 3 o'clock, the Port General Manager received word that our expression of interest has been accepted, and that we have been invited to prepare and present our comprehensive project proposal no later than 11:59 hours on the 24th of May. And they're very specific about the deadline, and there will not be an extension. And the interesting thing was that the expression of interest was reviewed entirely within the National Trade Corridors Fund bureaucracy, entirely without any reference back to Mr. Daly, who had submitted the expression of interest. So I'm going to put it this way, it took 3 weeks and the weekend to get their approval, but we're on our way. And just for the benefit of the folks in the gallery, we're looking basically for $5 million from the National Trade Corridors Fund to replace the grain spout loading system at the Port of Johnstown. And the concept is that the engineering would be done this year and the construction next year, and all in the interest of enhancing our ability to load ocean-going ships with Eastern Ontario soybeans for the export market. And so I'm at item number 9 on the agenda, which is correspondence, and Councillor Cameron, I believe you have that motion.
I do, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh, that Municipal Council receives the correspondence listings for the following dates as previously circulated. March 7th, 2019, March 22nd, 2019.
Thank you very much. Those in favor, please signify.
Aye.
Motion is carried. And then item 10 is approval of the disbursement sheets. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hunter, that municipal council approves payment of municipal invoices circulated and dated as follows. Report dated March 5th, 2019 in the amount of $299,332.48. Report dated March 11th, 2019, $103,447.11. Report dated March 20th, 2019 in the amount of $1,458,502.96 for a total amount of $1,861,282.55.
Thank you very much. And the disbursement sheets have been circulated for everybody's review. Discussion, if any. Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And so now I'm on item number 11, which is various bylaws. And the first is bylaw 11A, which we're giving only first and second reading tonight. And Councillor Hunter, I believe you have that one.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Dillabaugh, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to govern the proceedings of council and committees of council, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Thank you very much. I'll just highlight 3 changes to this bylaw, which is the procedural bylaw. The first change comes at section 1, subsection P, where we define, where the bylaw will now define a meeting as it is now defined in the Bill 168. The second change comes in section 44, where we will agree that the confirmatory bylaw passed at the end of the meeting will get all 3 readings at the same time. And then the third change comes at section 87B, where the citizen volunteers on our various committees will take an oath to maintain the confidentiality of the in-camera meetings which they may attend from time to time. Is there any further, is there any discussion on these bylaw changes? These changes to the procedural bylaw. Hearing none, about to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried, thank you, and so we'll have third reading a month from now. And then the changes will be in effect, if it passes. And item 11B, which is to set the industrial park water rates. Councillor Dillabaugh.
Moved by myself and second by Councillor Cameron, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to impose water rates for users of the water distribution system in New Wexford, County Road 2, at Johnstown Industrial Park. And this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Discussion, first and second reading. Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried unanimously and proceed to third reading.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Cameron, that the bylaw to impose water rates used in the water distribution system at New Wexford County Road 2, Johnstown Industrial Park, be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 219-11.
Third reading of the bylaw, those in favor, please signify.
Aye.
Opposed, if any? Motion is carried unanimously. Proceeding now to item 11C, Industrial Park wastewater rates. And Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hunter, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to impose sewer rates for users of the sanitary sewer system on County Road 2 in the Edwardsburg Cardinal Industrial Park, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Okay, thank you very much. First and second reading. Discussion, hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously, I think. Councillor Dillabaugh?
Yeah, aye.
And proceed to third reading then.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hunter, that a bylaw to impose sewer rates for the users of the sanitary sewer system on County Road 2 in the Edwardsburg Cardinal Industrial Park be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2019-12.
Thank you very much. Voting on the third reading. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. And so now the last bylaw, 11D, to appoint a chief building official. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to appoint a chief building official, and this shall constitute the first and second reading thereof.
And who are we appointing, Councillor Cameron?
Well, it happens to be Mr. Kevin Lalonde.
Well, first and second reading of the appointment bylaw. Those in favor?
Third change. Aye.
First and second reading carries unanimously. Can proceed to third reading.
Yes, thank you very much. It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh, that a bylaw to appoint a chief building official be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, and sealed, and numbered 2019-13, and the name doesn't change.
Thank you very much. Those in favor of third reading?
Aye.
Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, so now I'm on item 12 on the agenda, which is the CAO's administrative update. Now, it's an interesting conundrum that I'm in here this evening. The CAO's been gone for 36 days, so I got the impression that she didn't author this report, but it's got her name all over it. Well, it's got her title all over it.
I think different, Mr. Mayor. It says acting CAO's administrator.
Oh, you're right, it does. But that's not what my agenda says. So, to the Director of Operations, the previous acting CAO, would you care to highlight your report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess on the first page, upcoming meetings, just April 11th, the official plan open house, and on April 29th, the Meet Your Council. And just the update from the previous admin and finance meeting with the tax registration, there were 26 properties registered with real tax. 2018 audit, auditors are scheduled to be on site April 8th to the 12th to complete the 2018 audit. On page 2, under facilities and recreation, spring ice operations are proceeding well in Cardinal, and Spencerville Arena is in seasonal close down operations. With respect to public works, crews are very busy with the initial spring thaw activities, steaming culverts and removing ice jams. Half load restriction signage is posted. And just final on public works, Jay Simser is transferred over full-time as of March 18th. Under the operations environmental services, guess the highlight there would be the Spencerville wastewater. So the majority of the lagoons are still ice covered, and staff is monitoring the situation to determine whether a request to the MOE is required to extend our annual discharge window past April 21st. I would anticipate with the weather forecast this week, we should be all right to hit our window. On page 3, OCIF funding for County Road 2 project. So we received notification from OMAFRA that no funding for the 2018 top-up application program. For the fire department, I guess 2 items, 292 burn permits issued to date. And under the training part, there'll be 2 officers attending an all-expense paid course on crude by rail emergency response held in Colorado through CP Rail in May. And also 2 members from the Prescott Fire Department will also be attending. So a great learning opportunity at no expense.
Oh, no expense. CP Rail?
CP Rail.
Excellent.
Covering all.
They need a counselor to go too.
Should a counselor go? I just.
Or a deputy mayor, I
Yeah,
mean?
no, counselor would be better.
I think the whole council should go.
Unfortunately, only 2 spots and they are booked.
They still have
My only concern is that when they come back from that training course, and it is crude by rail, my only worry is that when they come back from the training course, they're gonna be looking for $1.5 million worth of equipment. We have 40 trains a day across our township, and every one of those trains is gonna have 25 to 50 to 75 cars of crude.
Or more.
Or more. Yeah. What has stopped, by the way, just so you know, what has stopped is we no longer see the unit trains where every car is crude by rail. So that's ended, but we do see big quantities. And the other thing is, we see now that the crude by rail tank cars are interspersed, 30, and then there'll be 15 different types, and then another 30. So that's happening. So, sorry to interrupt, go ahead.
That's fine, Mr. Mayor, that basically concludes the highlights.
Okay, I'm going to give the members of council an opportunity to ask their questions, and then I'll finish with a few of my own. Councillor Hunter, you're first.
Well, the only question I have was mentioned in there about the Smith Road culvert in there, whenever your reports there about half loads you're on, about whether you're going to be able to keep that until that job is done. Why is there any question whether you can put a restriction on a bridge or culvert? We put them on for years in the township. We had them on the Pittston Road there, so why is there any question about whether we can keep them on or not?
So through the mayor, it's not so much about just keeping that on, of whether any additional signage may be required with that window.
Okay, that's not the only question.
Deputy Mayor?
No, none.
Okay, I'll be down the other end. Councillor Dillabaugh.
Just one, Mr. Grant, Jay Sims are transferred over full-time. Was Jay, he was part of the recreation, is that right? Or no?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Okay, thanks.
And Councillor Cameron.
I have none, thank you.
Okay, just a few from myself. And I did have a chat with the CAO today about, I'm at the first page, the 730 truck stop property. I'm assuming there's nothing changed since our last meeting. Certainly the CAO didn't indicate any changes since our last meeting, so nothing has happened today. Okay, but we do understand that receivership is winding up here. I think the CAO seemed to be quite optimistic that we would see our dollars. The other thing is, I did stop into the 730 truck stop. I stop in about once a week and ask them, they have a gentleman on site full-time, and he will be in charge of the site, but they're still not pumping fuel, and he keeps telling me every time I stop in, 2 weeks, we're gonna be up and running in 2 weeks. So I can report within 2 weeks, I've been told that within 2 weeks, they will be up and running.
Every 2 weeks.
Now, going down to the next item, bylaw. Parking tickets continue to be issued to vehicles parked on the street during snow removal operations. How many? can we, on the next, well, there won't be another report about tickets for snow removal, but do we have any idea how many tickets were issued?
Mr. Mayor, I do not, but I would anticipate that the first quarter reports would be coming up for bylaw next month. And typically, it's detailed out on those.
And the reason that I asked the question was that I wanted the new chief building official to be aware of the fact that sometimes the mayor gets down to the nitty-gritty details. Now, under the tax registration, so we have 26 properties registered. Do we have any idea when we will start to see the advertisements that those are being sold for tax sale?
Through the chair, those would just be registered now, and they have a year to pay that before we would actually be putting those in.
Okay,
So
so
when
they've
you
just
first
gone into registration?
Correct,
Oh, okay. All right, 1 year to pay.
correct.
Okay, and so then over on the next page, when we're talking about the Pittston Salt Dome inspection, who completes the inspection of the salt dome?
Through the chair, we had an engineer come down, the same engineer that did it, I believe, 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay. And I think I have one more question. No, I didn't. Those are my questions. So let me see. Where am I? Did I ask for the motion to come forward? I don't think I did. So Councillor Hunter, you have a motion?
Move myself, second by Councillor Delabaugh, that the municipal council receive the CAO's administration report as presented.
Thank you very much. Those in favor, please signify.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. And item number 13 on the agenda, council inquiries, notices of motion. Anybody have anything to bring forward?
Will we be speaking to the service delivery and efficiency funding tonight at all, or?
It doesn't look like it. I think that's coming for first discussion at admin finance.
So we'll get it, I can hold this until then.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
as long as we're gonna
yeah.
have an actual open and full discussion
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
we are.
hold my
Hold your fire.
notes till then, sure.
Okay. All right, so
Let's get
now,
it thunder.
I'm down to the mayor's report. And I just have to get my paperwork in order here a little bit.
I gotta move it in myself.
Go ahead.
Can I go?
Yeah.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hunter, that municipal council receives the mayor's report as presented.
Okay, so it's on the table.
Do you have nothing, Mr. Mayor?
Oh, I got a big report.
It's on.
I just have to find it.
Somewhere in that 1,000 pages of it.
Okay, so, I'm just gonna start at the top and go down, and some of you may be aware of it, but this puts everything on the record, so to speak. So I'm sure you're all aware of the announcement from the Minister of Health and Long-Term Care about the Maple View Lodge extension, 132 Class A beds now been announced for Maple View Lodge. County has spent the better part of 5 to 7 years working on this problem. We've made presentations to no less than 3 ministers of health, but now it's interesting that the Minister of Health and Long-Term Care, Christine Elliott, has finally made the announcement. 132 beds, and this will be a major redevelopment of the entire Maple View Lodge site. And I just want to say that the long-range plan for the Maple View Lodge site is that in addition to these 132 beds, which are going to be long-term care beds, the council will be looking for a private partner to build, I'm going to call it, small independent living units on that site, where seniors who wish to give up their homes and move to smaller quarters and have partial services, such for example food services, will be able to move on to the site while they're still fully independent and then slowly transition into the long-term care. So that's the long-range view, and I would say we're probably 5 to 6 years away, And I think we're probably at least 18 to 24 months away from seeing these 132 bids start to get take-up. The next item I want to just talk briefly about, the Minister of Municipal and Rural Affairs, the Honorable Steve Clark, did announce the allocations for our township. And you all know that we'll be getting $585,000 from that announcement. And it's basically unconditional grants, but the minister made it very clear to me when he called that the intent was find ways of doing things more efficiently and more effectively to the benefit of the taxpayers that you serve. Now, nobody has used the A word in all of the discussions that we've had, but clearly the minister is making it clear that he's going to be looking for some reports at some point in the future as to how we've used these dollars. So I don't want to say anything more about that, but I did think it was fairly significant that the minister phoned me as, I guess, as the warden or perhaps as the mayor, but he phoned me in the morning and he phoned every single mayor in the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville that morning, informing us that he would be making the announcement at 10 o'clock and speaking personally with each of us, and that was quite appreciated by this particular mayor. Item number 3 on my agenda, my report here, the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus met on Thursday and Friday in Napanee, and I just want to report that the EORN project, Phase 2, is, we think, well on the way to being funded. Now that request is for $71 million from the federal government, $71 million from the Ontario government, who has already committed, and $71 million from the private carriers, Bell, Rogers, etc., for a total of $213 million. And the goals and objectives of that project, and I want to put them out on the table so people understand them, what we will get for the $213 million. And the concept is to close the cell phone gaps that we all know exist as we're driving along the roads and we lose our contacts. So, it will achieve 99% coverage of the Eastern Ontario region with cellular calling service level where people live, work, and travel. That portion will cost $130 million and will increase coverage from the 90% level that it's at right now to average 99% coverage. The second objective, it'll achieve 95% coverage of the Eastern Ontario region with standard definition service level where people live, work, and travel. This will be covered incidentally and will increase coverage from 80% to an average of 95%. The third objective and goal, we will achieve 85% coverage of the Eastern Ontario region with high definition service level where people live, work, and travel, and that will increase the cost from 130 to 168 million and will increase the coverage from 65% average to 85% average. And then the last goal and objective, we'll invest $34 million in increased capacity for 5G network enhancements in high density, high network utilization areas. So all of the engineering work and all of the background work has been done for this project. This project is basically ready to go to tenders, and all we're awaiting now is the confirmation from the federal government that the federal money, $71 million, is in place. The last thing, no, not the last, I was going to speak about the National Trade Corridors Fund, and I did announce that our expression of interest has been accepted. Now, our next step, and one which I was working on all afternoon today, and a lot of work on Saturday night as well, we know that we're probably not going to be able to get provincial dollars into the program, but we have been advised to get ministerial letters from ministers, provincial ministers, telling the federal government that various ministers approve and support the project. So I've gone to Minister Clark's office, and I've asked Minister Clark's office to get us a letter from Minister Clark, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and from Minister Smith, Minister of Infrastructure and Employment, I think it is. And I've gone to an entirely different source, a person that I met many years ago that's now active in the political scene, to get a letter from Minister Hardeman, the Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs. So if we can get those 3 letters to bulk up our comprehensive project proposal, we think that that will be a good enhancement to our proposal. In addition to that, Mr. Dowley is arranging meetings with consultants in Ottawa. Spent the better part of the day on that. We do think that we're going to require professional help to put our comprehensive project proposal together, and we'll be meeting with some folks that we think can help with that. Item number 5, the Giant Tiger warehouse. I have spoken today to Mike Quinn, the Vice President in charge of distribution. I want to say that there is no truth, and he's authorized me to say this, there is no truth to the rumor that the frozen food warehouse presently located in Brockville will be relocating to our industrial park anytime in the near future. So he's asked me to please dispel that rumor. It is not true. They have no intentions of moving out of Brockville at this point in time for the foreseeable future. Now, in addition to that, I indicated to him that our council would be very interested in touring the warehouse, familiarization tour, and he has invited council to a familiarization tour on Monday, April the 22nd, from 4 to 5 p.m. 5 members of council, possible 3 members of staff. So pass that on to your staff that haven't been there, that want to join us. He finds that he can't deal with a group much larger than about 8.
What was the date again, sir?
It's Monday, April the 22nd. We do have a meeting that day from 4 to 5, and we'll do that familiarization tour the same way we did Jones. We'll leave the warehouse, come here, have a sandwich or pizza or whatever, and our meeting will start at 6:30.
Just for my own clarification, that is the Johnstown warehouse, not the Brockville warehouse.
No, it's the Johnstown warehouse. That's the Johnstown warehouse. And by the way,
I don't want to show up in Brockville.
no, Mr. Quinn did report that they have no warehousing whatsoever left in Ottawa. They are working 100% from this warehouse, with the exception of frozen food that works for Brockville.
Cool.
Now, the last thing I want to report to the rest of council is that the deputy mayor and myself met with the fundraisers, Judy Baree and Dave Beattie, who are the nominated fundraisers for the Prescott Arena funding. And we met with those folks on Thursday, March the 21st, just following the county council meeting in Brockville. And I've put on everybody's plates, or in their mailbox, I think you all have it in front of you, 2 sheets, which I hope that you will use as talking points. The first is the letter that was hand-delivered to Mayor Todd and the town and council at the town of Prescott on August the 27th. And it's got the date stamp on it that it was received. The point is that we've had no communication, political communication from Prescott since that date. The other sheet that's in front of you, the numbers were prepared by our staff, show the revenue and expenses for the Spencerville Arena and the Cardinal Arena for 2017 and 2018. And the point that we made with the two fundraisers was that in 2017, our taxpayers spent $446,000 in support of hockey and figure skating and arenas in the area. And in 2018, our taxpayers spent $439,995 in support of hockey, figure skating, and arenas. And the question that Deputy Mayor Todd and myself posed to them was, how much more do you think that our taxpayers should be contributing to hockey and ice rinks in the area, considering the fact that our neighboring township spends nothing, and in this particular year, Prescott spends nothing. And considering the fact that we've had no communication. Now, Deputy Mayor Deschamps, I don't know whether you want to say more, but I want to get that much out in the public arena. Public's not here. I did seriously consider writing a letter to the editor and discussed that with the CAO today. We decided that probably it's best not to escalate the situation. But I think the Deputy Mayor had an interesting suggestion for the two fundraisers, and I'm going to let you put it on the table. Slow down, slow down.
Yeah, you're gonna do it to me, aren't you? It's hard for me, because my words often will escalate this a little bit. So, I thought our meeting was very fruitful, but it was clear from my take that their ask was simply money. There wasn't really a give and take. They were fundraisers. They're basically asking us for funds. I think my discussion with them was to try to create some form of unity. They use in their proposal Prescott, Augusta, and Edwardsburg cardinal numbers, and they compare how this is a combined use facility, and they make the argument that for funding, it should come from all of us. So my suggestion back was, well, if the funding should come from all of us, shouldn't some input come from all of us? So that we form some form of a group, or even if we just had a ceremonial, if nothing else, a ceremonial council meeting amongst the three councils, or form some form of a working group amongst the three councils to see if there were some ways that we could come together for some common things on this. I suggested that they were a little far down the road for us to get involved. I think I followed the mayor on that, and for much involvement, and they made it clear that it was kind of far down the road, I think, for too much involvement for us as well. But I think we made it pretty clear back that it's pretty hard for us. We already fund two arenas full out on our own. Funding a third one really wasn't something that we wanted to get into without at least having some input. So we sent them back with several suggestions, and I hope some clarity on our side of the discussion. They were fairly surprised at our side of the discussion, and they felt they needed to go back and sort of reload and come back to us again at some point. So I think from what I get out of it is we made the suggestion that maybe through some unity, be it a combined ceremonial sort of council meeting, or even forming some form of a work group where we can have some open discussions.
And I think the other thing that would serve to involve us is if we knew that we were planning if we knew that we together as three municipal entities were planning a a recreational facility for the future. Not just an arena, but maybe an arena plus. But that we were working together on something. So that is not happening, and we indicated that we were not interested in just writing a check.
No, absolutely.
But we did tell them, our door is always open, we're willing to talk, we're willing to discuss, we're willing to meet, but we're not willing to fund.
Just fun,
Just fund.
just fun.
So I sensed from our earlier discussions that we had a mandate from the other folks at the table here to talk like that. And I just wanted you to know that the talk did occur. And I can tell you that from my point of view, I think they were a bit disappointed to hear our side of the story. Don't know what else to say. I did relay the information that you had provided about an earlier discussion that you had when a different arena was under consideration. And your word goes and nobody questions it, so they were interested to hear that as well. So that's where we stand with that issue. The talks have taken place. We'll see what develops from this point.
Just,
Did you want in?
just let me add one little tiny thing first,
Sure,
and
go ahead.
then
It might answer my question.
maybe. And I don't want to come off as too negative on the discussion of the meeting. It was negative, it was them asking and us saying no. But I think that, we might have planted some seeds for, future works, collaborative works together, and inadvertently, through the arena discussion, it may open some doors, for some discussions further down the road, or at least some thoughts if their funding falls through this way on how their planning wants to go for the future.
Go ahead.
Is it appropriate to ask you what the ask was?
Oh, there were no actual
Never.
numbers.
There were no numbers.
But I just want you to know that when we first met with them, they had a very lengthy,
I've got it here.
yeah, and I got it here. They had a very lengthy presentation, and we said, oh, listen, your folks are here to speak to us. We want you to start, we want you to have the first words. So they went through this presentation very comprehensively, and we listened very attentively. And it was a lot of very important stuff about the benefits of a community center in a small community, how the arena is home to, South Grenville, minor hockey, Prescott, adult, men's, the benefits of hockey for youth, the benefits, some testimonials from Leo Boyven, Ben Hutton, other testimonials from figure skaters, the benefits of figure skating, testimonial from Elaine Chartrand, Matthew Markle, health benefits of skating, what does an arena mean to you, Kidsman Club, and then they got to the building begins. And I said, well, if you don't mind, I'd like to just stop the discussion at that point. We know that the building has been basically designed. We know that the ice plant has been ordered. We know that the location has been selected. And we also know that we have not had a word from them. So let's talk about that. And that's where the conversation kind of diverged. So, looking for further direction from the table.
What did you throw back at them, may I ask?
Our door is always open.
Nothing.
Nothing at all?
Our door is open, but we're not prepared to write a check.
I think,
We must have the wrong address then.
Why is that?
Well, you sent a letter August 27th, and this is March 25th. Nobody's come to our door yet. So obviously, they don't know where we live. No?
I love your candid, Steve.
Well, I just don't get it, though. You're saying that our door's always open. We already went there August 27th. We met March 21st.
You wanna close the door?
No.
Oh, no. No, I'm 100% to support a sporting event, but not arena, I'll tell you that right now. I don't want no part of it. I'll lobby up and down the highway with signs. We will not give them 5 cents if it's for Cardinal. And I think if we did a survey, I think I would win pretty good.
99%.
Yeah. So, I'm in for a recreation facility, but not for arena, and they already have one. And I think they should really slow down a little on this. This is my feelings. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Councillor Hunter and then yourself.
Well, I think we keep talking about this recreation. We got the figures in front of us for 2 rinks. This is just a minor part of what Edwardsburg funds in recreation.
Yes, you're right.
Our recreation budget is over $1 million a year. We have the largest recreation budget pretty near, I'll bet you, in eastern Ontario. Definitely in the 3 neighboring municipalities by a long shot. We've never had any support from Prescott in anything we did. Augusta gives us peanuts towards our recreation. And they actually have the gall to come and ask us to take part now because they're hard up for money to do something in recreation with them. They've never been interested in doing anything with Edwardsburg with recreation or any other clubs, figure skating or anything else have won.
Well,
Be involved with us, so I'm just, if they want a partner, fine. 3 municipalities go together, but they take our bills and split them too. They pay part of them. I'd be all for it if they all 3 municipalities want to go together and say we have to spend $2.5 million on recreation and everybody's going to pay 1/3 of it.
Yeah. Well, and I think you make a good point, because when you make the point that this money that's on this, that we've documented here, that's just arenas. We
Yes.
also operate 2 pools.
Yeah.
We also operate how many ballparks?
Yeah.
We, you know, it goes on and on. And we carry the burden, really. So there and then there.
Yeah, so I think we're starting the meeting that I asked them, the notes about my inquiry of service delivery before. We're kind of starting that meeting now. Maybe we should, you know, stop this and you know, prepare it for then. But I think what I'm hearing and what even our thoughts were and what our discussions were with them encompassed all the things that we're talking here at the table. But I think furthermore, it takes us back to what the infusion of money coming in from the provincial government, and it comes to service delivery and efficiency review. Their first page laid it out really well for us, that our population is 18,668 people, and we have 3 arenas. And that doesn't make sense. You know, you add that up for the good people of Toronto and tell them that they get 1 arena per 6,000 people. They're gonna want some change in Toronto. And they're already ticked off enough at us because we have 80 councillors. They have no idea that we have an arena for every 6,000 people. I think that maybe part of this conversation is best left for service delivery and efficiencies. The one note, though, that I do, and I would be remiss if I didn't actually mention it at least, is that yes, we have 2 arenas now, and we're funding 2 arenas now, but we all know that the Spencerville Arena, its days are in the next, if not, you know, the next 5 years, then it's the 5 years after that. So we do have to start planning for its either eventual replacement or its closing. So if that enters into part of this discussion, so be it. If it doesn't, so be it as well. But I think without mentioning that it's nearing the end of its lifespan, we do have to start preparing for that as well.
And did you want in again?
No, I said my piece, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so that puts council fully aware of where we are officially via the, in the communications link via the fundraisers. And I'm going to indicate to you that I think there are a number of other communications going on as well. Okay, I'm going to call the question that the municipal council receives the mayor's report as presented. If there are no more questions?
Oh,
Yes, go ahead.
you have to help me out with the 439,000, say, for 218 for those people. How do we arrive at that?
So take the two numbers, the two
Cost.
total numbers for 418, for 2018. 84,319 in Spencerville, 356,675 in Cardinal. Add them together, you should come to 439. You should, yeah, I think you will.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I see, okay, thank you.
Okay, motion's on the table, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried, thank you. And now we're at question period, but there are nobody to ask any questions. We have no closed session. Confirmatory bylaw. And confirmatory bylaw, Councillor Dillabaugh.
I have that?
Yeah, apparently.
One knocked over. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Cameron, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to adopt and confirm and ratify matters dealt with by the resolution. And this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
First and second reading, those in favor?
Aye.
Carries unanimously. Go ahead with third reading.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Cameron, that by law to adopt and confirm the ratified matters dealt with by the resolution. Be now read at the third time, finally passed, sealed, finally passed, signed and sealed, number 219-14.
Okay, those in favor, please signify.
Aye.
Motion is carried, thank you. So now I think I'm looking for the motion to adjourn. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh, that municipal council does now adjourn at 7:57 p.m.
Thank you very much. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried.